The market on Velron Prime smelled of spice and ozone. Captain Daniel Cade adjusted the strap of his supply bag as he moved through the crowded alien bazaar. Traders hawked fruits that glowed faintly under the canopy lights. Merchants argued in 6 different languages, and somewhere in the distance, an avian street performer trilled a haunting melody. Daniel had been here for 2 months now, longer than intended. His ship was grounded after a meteor storm tore through her hull plating, and repairs on Velron were slow. Too slow. He passed a stall selling dried lenthroot when he felt a tug at his sleeve. He looked down. The girl staring up at him wasn't human. Her eyes were huge and dark gold, framed by delicate facial markings that curled along her cheeks. She wore a patched tunic, clearly too big for her, and clutched a small woven basket. "You're a human," she said matter-of-factly, voice high but steady. Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Last I checked." The girl tilted her head, studying him like she was solving a puzzle. Then she asked, without hesitation, "Would you marry my mom?" Daniel froze mid-step. "What?" "My mom," the girl repeated. "You'd be a perfect husband for her." She said it like she was offering him a piece of fruit. He blinked, unsure if he'd misheard. "That's not exactly something you ask strangers in a market." She frowned. "You're not a stranger. I've been watching you." "Well, that wasn't unsettling at all." She pointed toward a distant corner of the market. "You help people. You fix things. You make the traders laugh." "My mom hasn't laughed in a long time." Daniel followed her gaze. A woman stood behind a stall piled high with hand-woven cloth. Taller than the girl, with the same golden eyes and facial markings, she moved with quiet grace. But even from here, Daniel could see the weariness in her posture. "That's your mom?" "Yes. Her name is Sarah. She works too hard. She's alone." And the girl's voice softened. "She cries when she thinks I'm asleep." Daniel wasn't sure what to say. He crouched so he was eye level with the girl. "What's your name?" "Linny." "Well, Linny, I'm flattered. But marriage isn't something you can just decide in a market." She crossed her arms stubbornly. "Why not? You're kind. She's kind. You could be happy together." He smiled faintly. "And what does your mom think about this plan?" Linny hesitated, eyes darting away. "I haven't told her yet." Of course she hadn't. The rest of the day, Daniel couldn't shake the encounter. He kept catching glimpses of the cloth stall while running errands. Sarah moved like someone who had learned to endure without expecting help. She greeted customers with warmth, but the smile never reached her eyes. When he passed by at sunset, Linny waved him over before he could escape. "Mom, this is Captain Daniel Cade," she said proudly. "He's the one I told you about." Sarah looked mildly confused. "Oh, well, it's good to meet you, Captain." Daniel cleared his throat, shooting Linny a subtle don't you dare look. "Likewise. Your daughter's very persuasive." Sarah arched an eyebrow at Linny. "Persuasive about what?" "Nothing important," Daniel said quickly. Over the next week, he found himself returning to their stall. Sometimes to buy supplies, sometimes to deliver small repairs on the market's creaking stalls, and sometimes just to talk. Sarah was sharper than he'd expected, with a quiet wit that slipped through when she relaxed. She spoke of her home province, of the weaving guilds, and of Linny's tendency to climb market awnings like a feral cat. Daniel learned she'd been widowed 3 years ago. Her husband, a transporter pilot, had died in a shuttle malfunction. Since then, she'd kept the stall running alone, raising Linny while fending off less-than-respectful advances from traders who saw vulnerability as opportunity. Linny, for her part, seemed convinced she'd made the right choice in picking Daniel. She hovered nearby whenever he visited, watching them with an almost smug satisfaction. One evening, A storm rolled in. The market emptied quickly as sheets of silver rain battered the streets. Daniel was about to return to his rented room when he spotted Sarah and Linny struggling to haul their stall's goods under cover. Without a word, he joined them, lifting heavy crates and securing the woven cloth against the wind. By the time they finished, all three were drenched. "You didn't have to do that," Sarah said, catching her breath. "Wouldn't be much of a captain if I let two civilians wrestle a storm alone," Daniel replied. Linny grinned. "See, Mom? Husband material." Daniel groaned. "Linny." Sarah gave a startled laugh, the first real one he'd heard from her. It lit her face in a way that made Daniel's chest ache unexpectedly. Days turned into weeks. Daniel's ship repairs neared completion. He told himself he'd leave as soon as she was space-worthy again. But every time he thought about saying goodbye to Sarah and Linny, something in him resisted. One afternoon, while Daniel was helping Sarah restock, a burly trader approached the stall. His tone was too familiar, his posture aggressive. "Still turning down offers, Sarah?" the man drawled. "You're going to regret it when the market board raises rent again." Sarah stiffened. "My decisions are my own, Bren." The trader sneered. "We'll see how long that lasts." Before Daniel realized he'd moved, he was standing between them. "I think you've overstayed your welcome." Bren looked him up and down. "And who are you supposed to be?" "Someone who's not going to let you talk to her like that." There was a tense pause. Bren muttered something under his breath and stalked off. When Daniel turned back, Sarah's expression was unreadable. "You didn't have to." "Yes, I did," he interrupted. That night, Sarah found him at his lodgings. She stood in the doorway, rain dripping from her cloak. "I wanted to thank you," she said quietly. "Not just for today. For everything you've done for Linny. For me." Daniel rubbed the back of his neck. "You don't have to thank me. I like being around you. Both of you." For a long moment, they just looked at each other. Then Sarah smiled faintly. "You know she's been trying to marry me off to you since the day you met, right?" Daniel chuckled. "Oh, I know." "She's a good judge of character," Sarah added softly. The next morning, Daniel told Linny his ship was ready. Her face fell. "You're leaving?" "I have to," he said gently. "It's my job." "But," her voice cracked. "I thought," she stopped, swallowing hard. "I thought maybe you could stay. With us." Daniel crouched to meet her eyes. "Linny, I can't stay forever. But that doesn't mean I'm gone for good." She hesitated, then whispered, "Would you still marry her?" "One day." He smiled sadly. "If she'd have me, I think I'd be the lucky one." When he left Valorant Prime, Sarah and Linny stood at the edge of the docking bay. Sarah's hand rested gently on her daughter's shoulder, her eyes meeting his in a silent promise. The ship's engines roared to life. Daniel lifted a hand in farewell, and Linny waved furiously until the docking bay vanished from sight. In the quiet hum of space, he found himself already plotting a return trip, sooner rather than later. Because sometimes the galaxy didn't give second chances. And sometimes, when a brave little girl in a crowded market asked if you'd marry her mom, she was just pointing you toward the place you were meant to be.